A week and a half after Election Day, and the media has called the states of Arizona and Georgia for Joe Biden again. I guess it's time to shut up and accept a return to normalcy. Just one question. Normalcy for who? It's time for Hold the Line. Welcome, friends, to Hold the Line. I'm Buck Sexton. Let's dive right in. With less than 11,000 votes separating President Donald Trump and Joe Biden, the media has called the race in Arizona for the former vice president. Trump campaigns also dropped its lawsuit in that state seeking a review of ballots, so it's safe to say that Arizona will likely remain in the Biden column. Media outlets are also calling the race in Georgia, a little over 14,000 votes separating the candidates in that state. Of course, a hand recount is still outstanding there. So that's it, right? Time for a Joe Biden presidency and the, quote, return to normalcy that we've heard so much about. What the heck is a return to normalcy? Let's think about this for a moment. We have a mainstream media that ran for 4 years with a Russia collusion conspiracy theory meant to undermine a presidency, and now they're acting like we just go back to everything being fine, as if none of that happened. We don't remember the Golden Showers dossier. We don't remember any of this. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, they were all pushing this stuff. And now they want us to go back to normal. You mean where they say that Republicans are racists and bigots and they use every authoritarian impulse that the left can come up with to try to silence us? Is that the normalcy they want? Let's all understand, it's likely that Joe Biden is going to be the next president. It's not done yet, not a done deal. Trump is still going through the process, completely legitimately, looking at these legal challenges, bringing them to courts, and responding as needed. But hold on a second. I thought they wanted unity. I want unity and normalcy. Can't you just feel all the unity and normalcy that's all over the place now as we're about to head into lockdowns? And as, oh, that's right, they're still running around talking about how Trump is a Nazi. Here's CNN. Play it.
This week, 82 years ago, Kristallnacht happened. It was the Nazis' warning shot across the bow of our human civilization that led to genocide against a whole identity. And in that tower of burning books, it led to an attack on fact, knowledge, history, and truth. After 4 years of a modern-day assault on those same values by Donald Trump, the BidenHarris team pledges a return to norms.
There's your normalcy, folks. Trump is Hitler. After this election, when it looks like Joe Biden even won, they're never going to let this go because they think that's normal. They have normalized the insane. That's one of the problems with Trump derangement syndrome. It's not something that just fades away because Trump won't be the president. Doesn't look like he's going to be the president for 4 more years. They still have this insane urge to demonize the other side. We're not wrong. We don't disagree. We're evil. And this isn't a new thing. Remember the Obama administration? Obama's favorite game to play, right, was to say that, there's one side, his side, that was really good, smart, doing all the right things. Want to help the folks. You want to help the folks, right? That's what we always hear. And then there's another side of the evil Republicans who are kind of racist, who were opposing things like, socialized medicine, right? That was all because of the evils of republicanism, not that we have a different idea about how to go forward in the future. Remember we used to hear about how we're the most polarized in our nation's history for 8 years, and then people would point out things like the Civil War. So that was clearly an overstatement, but they still said it in the media all the time. We would hear about it. So we're so polarized then, but now we're going back to normal? So is normal the polarization that our mainstream media and the Democrat left and the socialists in their midst have been pushing now for years, if not decades? Is that the normal we're going to go back to? I have a feeling we're all going to look back at this moment in time and say, gee, they weren't serious, were they? They don't think that this means that we forget everything that's happened and we bend the knee and do what they say because, one, that's not happening. We remember Kavanaugh. We remember Russia collusion. We remember the way big tech and the mainstream media created this unholy alliance of information suppression in order to help that was true too, to help Barack Obama, to help Joe Biden, Barack Obama's former vice president, get elected. We've seen all of this happen. We're not about to abandon this. We're not going to say, you know what, you're right. Let's start tabula rasa, clean slate. Nothing else to think about or worry about, folks. We're all going to come together here. We're going to come together with what? With amnesty? We're going to come together with more lockdowns? I've been calling this for months. They're not going to give up the power that they have. We'll talk more about this on the show today, but they're not going to say, you know what? We've learned that lockdowns, whether they work in theory or not, they don't work in practice. So we should not do these things. We should not have the heel of government on small businesses' backs anymore. We should not allow this to continue. This is not the role, certainly, of the federal government or of state and local governments. But no, you kidding me? They get to control you even more than they would if they passed the Green New Deal. This is a dream come true for them. That's the normalcy they are promising you. What's that third way? What's that middle path that Biden and Harris have articulated going forward? Oh, that they're just going to speak truth to the folks. We're going to go back to, America with dignity and where we're, a lot of boilerplate talking points that nobody takes seriously who knows anything about Harris or Biden's careers, respectively. They're going to say whatever they have to say. They're going to do what they can to placate the radical left, which now controls the Democrat Party. So we had an Obama administration that was deeply polarized, all about how it was obstruction on the other side. You remember, if we didn't do what he wanted, obstruction. Other people thought of that as the separation of government powers, and that gridlock that they kept complaining about was actually meant to control the impulses that some have, particularly progressives, to remake America, right? To fundamentally transform the country. The vision of the founders prevented Obama from entirely going through with that. And all we heard from the media, the Democrats, was complaining, and then we got to a pen on a phone and that whole thing, right? They started moving past what we had thought were the agreed rules of the game. Gee, kind of like an election. And now we fast forward to the present. We remember the Obama administration, 8 years, tremendous polarization, and all of this focus on how any opposition against Obama was racism. I haven't forgotten this. Talk about Obama's socialist impulses, racism. That's what they would say. Now we've got a Biden, I keep wanting to say Harris-Biden. I swear that's an accident. This Biden-Harris administration that is likely coming in. Please don't send me angry emails about how it's not a done deal. I know, but I'm looking at the facts. I'm looking at the trajectory right now. And they're promising us what exactly? They're making lists of people that they want to punish when the new administration comes into power. They want to chase former Trump people out of public life with the new administration. What, they think this is a form of reconciliation? No, this is what you get in authoritarianism. This is what you get from people who are used to having their way, only their way, and when it hasn't been that way, they're looking for some revenge. And political revenge, my friends, is going to be the order of the day if the Democrats can get away with it. But then that goes to the other point of normalcy. Perhaps Democrats should understand that Donald Trump in political life, that's going to be normal too. Trump supporters, MAGA, those red hats they despise so much, it's not going anywhere. If anything, we'll be in this unified opposition. They want unity. Trump supporters are unified. Trump voters feel that surge of unity right now, facing an unprecedented threat to our liberties from the lockdowns that are constantly enforced upon us and jammed down our throats by liberals whenever they can get a moment to get away with it. Right? That's where we have unity. We're not going to have some moment of come together under the Biden-Harris administration. It's not going to happen. We all know that. But Trump isn't going anywhere either. That is part of the new normalcy that they will not be able to easily deal with. That's what they're seeing right now. MAGA will continue no matter how these vote counts go. Trump will be out there making the case, rallying supporters, raising money, perhaps starting a media outlet, and maybe running again in 2024. Or anointing someone else to run as the standard bearer of his movement. We've got over 70 million votes for Donald Trump in a pandemic year when the media, as we showed you, has been actually comparing him to Hitler for 4 years. And he still got more votes than any other Republican in history, and he got a bigger share of the Latino and black vote as a Republican than anybody in 50 years. They think this movement's going away? No. Normal is going to be Democrats realizing that they've elected a third-tier politician with a fourth-tier mind to be essentially an empty suit because that was the best they could come up with to beat Trump this year. They're going to be ruining the day, my friends. We'll have to continue to focus in on what that normalcy for them will look like going forward. Trump's not going away. That's going to be normal. All right, the GOP continues to crush expectations by picking up a number of House seats and narrowing the Democratic majority. We'll talk to Republican candidate Anna Paulina about those results when we come back. Fellow patriots, MAGA CBD is a revolutionary American-made product that is safe for work, THC-free, and features patented NASA technology, making it the highest quality CBD oil on the market. Dedicated to providing the purest, most effective products on the market, MAGA CBD provides third-party testing results from industry-leading experts. MAGA CBD is 100% committed to customer satisfaction and product quality. Best of all, 10% of all proceeds benefit veterans and first responders. Personally, MAGA CBD has helped me sleep through the night, something I always used to struggle with. You can really feel and taste the difference with their apple pie flavored oil. What CBD product on the market could be more American? You got MAGA, NASA, apple pie, America at its finest, my friends. For your CBD needs, look no further than MAGA CBD. Learn more and order today at www.magacbd.org. That's MAGACBD, Charlie Bravo Delta.org, and save 10% with promo code BUCK. That's MAGACBD.org, promo code BUCK.
So I just want to thank everyone for your support. Obviously, it's not what we expected, but I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
The race for Florida's 13th congressional district pit a seasoned politician against a political newcomer, and the race was very close. Last week, Democrat Charlie Crist got 53% of the vote, defeating Republican Anna Paulina Luna at 47%. But like you heard her say, she's not going anywhere, although she is joining us right now, live here to discuss her race and the House results for the GOP. Anna Paulina, good to see you.
Good to have you back on. How are you?
I'm all right. Tell us what happened here. You were going up against somebody who had in the past, I believe, even run for governor. He's been in Florida politics for a long time. Just give us a little bit of a window into your race, what you saw.
Well, I got in the race a little bit later, and I can tell you that, coming from not a political family or background, really, it was definitely a learning curve, but I can tell you that there is such thing as voter suppression polls. They were saying that I was actually going to be losing by 17 points. Obviously, that wasn't nearly the gap that we ended up closing. But ultimately, what I found is that there is a need and there is a want for new blood and new voices in Washington, D.C. And like I said in that clip, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And frankly, I think Charlie Crist is on his way out.
And so the Latino vote was big for Trump, specifically in Florida, though nationwide he did very well with it. What did you see going on in your home state? Did it affect your election? And do you think that we're now seeing the beginnings of a Republican Party that's finally broken through to getting more of that Latino share of the vote so they're more competitive in congressional, Senate races and also the presidency?
Absolutely. What we saw, and in my race in particular, there wasn't a strong pull for the Hispanic vote, but nationwide, especially in the state of Florida, you have so many people, specifically those in South Florida, that are either of Venezuelan and or Cuban descent that have personally gone through or had their family members experience socialism. So President Trump's platform and the anti-socialist message of many candidates definitely did resonate with the Hispanic demographic. And what we actually saw is, according to polls, in 2016, only, I think, maybe 40-something% supported President Trump, whereas moving forward into 2020, over 60% of the Hispanic American voting bloc supported President Trump. And that's huge because we are now the largest voting minority in the country.
There's also a little bit of an intramural fight brewing on the Democrat side of the House. We know that right now they're going to be maintaining a majority, but an even slimmer majority. Speaking of suppression polls, by the way, it's clear that they weren't anywhere near the pickups. The Democrats didn't get the pickups they had anticipated. But here is AOC, House member, Latina, and member of the House, a Democrat, far left wing. We all know who she is. She tweeted out her staring at the back of Senator Manchin from West Virginia's head. You see that right there. Does your analytic sense tell you that going forward, Nancy Pelosi is going to have a particularly tough time keeping the far left, the squad within the House of Representatives in under control, or do you think that they're ascendant? They're going to be calling the shots?
I will tell you that right now, I really think that Nancy Pelosi has lost control of her own party. I think that it's more of an emphasis that people are afraid of having to answer to AOC's social media mob as opposed to pushing legislation that's right for the American people. But I will tell you that there's so many strong Republican voices, especially those of women who have gone through this and minority women at that, that can really play the squad at their own game. So I look forward to seeing some of the voices like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. I mean, even the congresswoman that was actually elected in South Florida. And frankly, I can't wait to watch C-SPAN for that.
Yes, no, there's some great new blood, some new voices that are joining the GOP ranks this time around. I'm glad that you're telling us about them, Anna, because big surprise, they get almost no coverage at all from the mainstream media. In fact, a number of women, a number of minorities as well, joining the Republican ranks, which goes against the narrative. That's one thing that we did see in this election, that the estimates for how much support the GOP would get and how that would translate into House races would be from the Latino and African American community. Why does Trump resonate with those communities in your mind, speaking as somebody who had to make those pitches herself?
I think the fact that he is an average person, the way that he comes across, he's not perfect, and people appreciate that sense of genuine talk and behavior. That does lack in Washington, D.C. And even what I noticed in my own primary, I was running against someone who is a very seasoned Washington, D.C. establishment, as they say, candidate. And I can tell you that the reason why I won, especially among most of the conservatives and even the minority voting bloc, is because of the fact that I speak like a regular person, because I am a regular person. And ultimately, regardless of what happens of the outcome of this election, of which I still think that President Trump rightfully won this election, I do believe that he's left such a mark nationally on the GOP that there's no way that they could ever go back to the old establishment. And frankly, the new blood is what we needed. The Trumpism is what we needed. And frankly, I hope to help further that message, whether or not there's a list in the future.
Nancy Pelosi on today's New York Post cover. Desert storm. I got to say, the headline writers of the Post are pretty extraordinary. Desert storm, looking at that, what was it, the $25,000 fridge with the $12 a pint Jenny's ice cream. It turns out that the progressives are saying that Pelosi's little stunt played a role in the House seats not getting picked up by Democrats. Do you think there's some merit to that, or was it more the defund the police socialism stuff, or all of the above?
I think it was probably all of the above. And remember, people did not like what happened with Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Then we saw them try to go after ACB during her confirmation. So I think over the last 4 years, people said, you know what? These people, they're crazy double standards for whether they're not going to abide to even their own lockdown. I think that all played a factor. And frankly, I hope that they continue to be crazy, because it's just going to help us pick up more seats in the House.
I certainly hope so, too. You got a progressive group's letter to House Democrats here. Whatever moderate Democrats think of Sanders and Warren, the unavoidable reality is that they have provided Democrats with a profoundly compelling economic message. What do you think about that?
Frankly, I hear that, and I don't understand why anyone would say Bernie Sanders is providing anything economic, because frankly, he's about redistribution of wealth. And to my knowledge and understanding, he was actually kicked out of a commune that he was a part of in college because he was too lazy. So I don't want him anywhere near policy, especially that of economics.
I know you're very tuned in. I'm just curious. You're very tuned into the Florida political scene. You just ran a very good race against Charlie Crist down there. Do you think that Governor DeSantis has his eye on perhaps a bigger job?
Frankly, if he did, and actually that just gave me chills, you saying that, I think that he would be an incredible nominee for 2024. I will tell you that in my own selfish interest, I would love for him to stay governor, because I think he's doing an incredible job. But if there was one person that I could actually get behind and genuinely believe that he would be an amazing fit for the White House, to include his wife, it would be DeSantis.
Anna Paulina Luna, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Lockdown measures are being implemented around the country as the U.S. hits a record high number of daily COVID cases. A closer look at what that means in tonight's Buck Brief. Economic uncertainty has left us all wondering about the future. The stock market goes up, goes down. Politics seem to determine so much of our economy, trillions of dollars of spending. Where's it all heading? What do we expect will happen in the future? And how can we make sure we have income for the future? For over a decade now, simple and conservative real estate investing has been the retirement answer for thousands of done-for-you real estate clients, and is now part of my answer to retirement. See, I'm not just a believer in what done-for-you real estate does, I'm also a client. Recently, I closed on my first ever investment property with my friends at Done For You Real Estate. Their system flat out works. Done For You Real Estate found me an amazing property, got me the financing, got it all fixed up, and are now renting it out and managing it for me. They're an award-winning, groundbreaking company with 13 years of experience that allows everyday, hardworking Americans to finally own investment real estate without all the risk and difficulty of doing it on your own. Visit doneforyoubuck.com to learn more and to find out if you qualify to take advantage of what may be a once-in-a-generation opportunity to finally own your own investment real estate. Go check it out today.
If we continue on the path we're on, and you and me and others don't step up and do more, our estimates are that we could see 1,000 more Chicagoans die from this virus by the end of the year.
That was Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who yesterday announced a 30-day citywide stay-at-home order. The U.S. has now hit its single-day COVID-19 case record, logging 144,000 new cases yesterday. Mayor Lightfoot's warnings come despite the fact that she was partying in the streets just days ago following news of media outlets projecting Joe Biden as the next president. She wasn't the only one. Here's Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on that very same day. Oh, look at that. No mask, Schumer. What's up with that? Hypocrisy in action, that's what's up. Clearly, left-wing politicians are immune from COVID-19, but you have to cancel your Thanksgiving plans. That's what they want you to know. Friends, time for a Buck Brief. Ah, yes. Can they cancel Thanksgiving? They're going to try. That's what they're telling you. But I have a feeling some of the people out there in positions of authority and power, whether it's the media or the political class, they're going to tell you, you cancel your Thanksgiving. You don't get to see, your Aunt Ethel and your cousin Bobby. Nope, not allowed. You have to just do it virtually. Sit there with a depressing little TV dinner, looking at relatives on Zoom and hoping you don't start arguing about politics. Not allowed to be around people, enjoy a big turkey, and just be together as a family. And understand that it's not perfect. There are risks. Every year you've been doing that since you were born, by the way. There was the possibility of people giving the flu to each other, including to elderly relatives who could die from it. I know COVID is worse than the flu, but we all take risks in life, friends. But what you'll notice is that the people that are out there telling you to cancel your Thanksgiving, they're not going to cancel theirs. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, big lockdown guy, big fan of it. He's out there telling people that they need to make sure they're super careful. Just last week, more than a dozen people gathered with him. There's a 10-person rule. A dozen people gathered to celebrate a birthday party. You see, this is what you forget. All these lockdowners and mask shamers, they want you to know that your Thanksgiving with your family, that your birthday or your loved one's birthdays, funerals, weddings, none of that is important enough to take any risks. But their stuff is important. They get to forget about all this guidance and rules because, they're important people. Come on. Yeah, do what you're told, peasant. That's the message you're actually getting from these people. They don't really care about you. They don't really care about their own actions. But it feels good, doesn't it, to be out there and tell everybody, listen, we're going to be united in this battle against a virus. Here's Dr. Anthony Fauci, the Fauch, as I like to call him, telling everybody straight up, like we're little children, do what you're told.
I was talking with our UK colleagues just today who were saying the UK is very similar to where we are now in outbreak because each of our countries have that independent spirit of we don't want to be told what to do. Well, I understand that, but now is the time to do what you're told.
Do what you're told, peasant. That's what they want you to know. That's what they want you to take away from all of this. Hold on a second. I remember when we were told by the same people, by guys like Dr. Fauci, that we were supposed to not wear masks. In fact, if you wore masks in March and April in New York City, and they were N95 masks, you were a marked person because you were taking those from healthcare providers who needed them. You didn't need them. You were fine. That was the official guidance. And it's not like we're talking about guidance that existed 100 years ago. It's not like it was some other era of history when we didn't have microscopes or we didn't understand what germs were. Earlier this year, But now it's do what you're told and listen. Make sure you don't have too much fun at Thanksgiving. Limit it to 10 people. Why? Why not limit it to 2 people? Why not limit it to 20 people? They just come up with all these arbitrary numbers all the time, like 25% indoor dining in New York City, and cutting it off at 10 o'clock at night. Oh, because you weren't going to get COVID if you're there at 9:30, but if you're there past 10 p.m., the virus has had some tequila at that point, and the virus wants to party. No, of course not. That's crazy. But these are the rules we're being subjected to all the time. Mask up in between bites. Do as you're told. And even people in the Trump administration have, unfortunately, bought onto this, because now there's no benefit for telling people, we can't protect you really. Here's the guidance we have. Make your own decisions. Try to be safe. We're hoping for the best. Vaccine's coming. That's reality. Nobody wants to talk about reality. They want to say, make sure you mask up. And I say, well, what about when I get into a taxi in New York City and the driver pulls his mask up after I get in the car? So he's been breathing in that car for, I don't know, a couple of hours maybe, spewing if he's got virus all over the place. Oh, but don't worry, I've got my mask on. Is that really going to protect me? Interesting. I wonder why actual healthcare workers, when they're dealing with pathogenic outbreaks, will wear respirators and much more serious gear, but I digress. So we have Azar, Health and Human Services Secretary. Here's what he says.
Wear your face coverings, because I want to make sure, even if we make sacrifices this Thanksgiving and Christmas, those sacrifices are for a reason, so that everybody you want to be with will be here for next Thanksgiving and next Christmas.
And as I said, I'm grateful to you, Mr. Secretary, for saying that. I would be grateful, very pleased, if the President of the United States were to follow your lead and say the same thing, because there are a lot of Americans out there who support him, who are totally opposed to putting on a face mask, to wearing a mask, and that is so dangerous.
It's actually not true that there are that many people that oppose putting on a face mask all the time. You know, there was the IHME, the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation out of Washington University. They published that study that said that 120,000, 130,000 or so lives will be saved if only we mask up. And that's what the Biden national mask mandate is supposed to be about. They were using numbers about mask adoption and compliance from the beginning of the outbreak, when it was about 40% nationwide. Now it's more like 80 to 90%. And isn't that fascinating? Because we have much higher mask compliance, and we just set an all-time record in cases yesterday. What's going on, folks? I was here in New York City. We were all wearing masks. People were wiping down their groceries with Lysol when they got home. Not a good idea, by the way. Not very safe to wipe the Lysol in the apple before you eat it. They were doing all these things, and the cases still kept going and going and going. Europe right now is actually in a decline from a peak, and it always goes along this about 6 to 8 week long curve. As if the virus spreads, it gets to a certain degree of spread in a society, in a group, and then it begins to recede again. But we're going to be told it's because of masks, you see. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to go all these lockdowns 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe 12 weeks in, and there'll still be cases, and it'll still be happening, and they'll say, you're not doing enough. What's enough? And what's too much for the government to do? What about constitutional rights? I thought those were things that still counted in this country, but apparently I'm wrong. The Mississippi governor, Tate Reeves, is saying, well, his state's not doing this lockdown thing. Play it.
We're not going to participate in a nationwide lockdown. This notion that one of his advisors has said that all we really need is about a 6-week national lockdown and we can slow down the spread of this virus is totally and completely beyond reasonableness. The people of Mississippi can't just go home, shut down their small businesses, shut down their restaurants, shut down their gyms, shut down other small businesses for 6 weeks and just think that you can come back 6 weeks from now, flip a switch, and everything's going to be fine. It's not the way the economy works.
Setting up for a showdown perhaps between a possible Biden federal mandate and states that say we're not going to enforce this mandate, we're not even going to abide by this mandate, and we'll see how that one shakes out, because we know those centralized powers in the Democrat Party, they love it. One more thing. So much focus on testing right now. Yes, I've seen ICU numbers very high right now nationwide comparatively, about where they were in May, and also hospitalizations with COVID high. So I'm not saying it's just cases, but I think it's important we understand what's going on with cases. Elon Musk, you know him because of Tesla, among other things. He tweeted this out. Something extremely bogus going on. Was tested for COVID 4 times today. 2 tests came back negative. 2 came back positive. Same machine, same test, same nurse. Rapid antigen test from BD. Guess what? All of these PCR tests have built into them or I should say, an expected failure rate. And when you're doing millions and millions of tests, even an expected failure rate of, say, 2 or 3% starts to add up very, very quickly, doesn't it? Remember when we were told that testing was the key to getting out of this and tracing was the key to getting out of this? That wasn't true. That's not the key. It's a useful tool in some capacity sometimes, but we're testing all over the place. Hasn't stopped this thing. We're masking up. Hasn't stopped this thing. We've done lockdowns. You see where I'm going with this. But guess what? Politicians don't want to tell you the truth, and they definitely want to control you. Take a look at the Trump campaign's efforts coming up next across the country to fight back as these ballot counting battles continue on. Stick around. Well, folks, it's been almost 2 weeks since election night, and we still don't have a confirmed presidential winner. The legal battles are piling up across the country. President Trump continues challenging the results in several battleground states, including Pennsylvania, where his campaign claims thousands of ballots were improperly counted. That's a lot of ballots. The Trump team filed 5 new affidavits in the state after a judge ruled that Pennsylvania's Democrat Secretary of State lacked the authority to extend the deadline for mail-in and absentee voters, handing the administration a legal victory. But it's not over, and the road to success is long. So what's next? Let's bring in attorney and contributor at the First, Madison Jeziato. Madison, great to see you.
Good to be with you, Buck.
Well, you told us that Ohio was going to go big for Trump. I know you're an Ohioan. You made that prediction election night. That was obviously correct, so thank you for that one. But we still have a lot of territory to cover here with these various legal challenges. As someone who's both a Trump supporter and a lawyer, what are you seeing that makes you think that this could still be something that might, let's just say, surprise some folks in the days ahead?
Well, I think we're going to have to wait for these legal challenges to make their way through. And a lot of people don't understand the laws. They don't really know what's going on, and they are completely panicked, especially a lot of Trump supporters right now, because they don't realize, the procedures for the lawsuits in different states are different. And so they're going to have to go through the steps. It's going to take a couple weeks. The next 2 weeks, I think, are going to be absolutely critical. There are 9 lawsuits currently filed. As we've already seen, there was the 400 sworn affidavits from witnesses, as well as 12,000 incident reports that Ronna McDaniel from the RNC announced today that they've received. So they're making their way through these. And, even personally, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, providing me with, statements or evidence or things that, they're saying about their individual votes in some of these swing states that are being challenged right now. So it's very interesting to see what's going on. And of course, the count continues. 2 recounts going on. That hand recount in Georgia, of course, is starting and supposed to be finished by the 18th, certified by the 20th. And we have, the other recount, as well as many close margins. Arizona, 11,000 vote margin with 30,000 votes outstanding. We have close margins in Nevada and Pennsylvania with a lot of votes outstanding as well.
Madison, when you hear the media making its cries in unison of Trump should concede, this is undermining our democracy, what do you say to that?
Well, I think it's the complete opposite. Anybody who respects our rule of law, anybody who respects what makes us so great in this nation, the reason why you can contrast us to many other nations in which elections are not free and fair and trusted, is the way we vote and the way that we as Americans can go and our vote is counted and it's fair and we're all held to the same standards. And that doesn't seem to be what happened in some places. And whether or not that changes this election outcome is yet to be seen. But it should still be something that we all, whether we're Republicans, Democrats, liberals, or conservatives, strive for, because you need to make sure that we can trust our elections. Because if you cannot trust the elections, whether it goes your way or not this time, it'll be the opposite next time. And so it'll undermine our entire nation and especially our rule of law. It's very similar, to what we're seeing going on as well with the Supreme Court and people wanting to pack the Supreme Court. While it may benefit them in the short term, in the long term, it would really harm our country. And so that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing people who want to turn a blind eye to fraud. They want to turn a blind eye to these allegations. But the reality is that we need to make sure we look into these witness affidavits, that we look into the incident reports and make sure that there aren't issues with the Dominion voting system, that there aren't issues at the polls. Poll observers, of course, being blocked out in certain places. That should never happen. We need to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Are you hearing from the campaign? I know you're in close touch both with the White House and the campaign, that they feel they have the resources necessary and they have the time to go through this appropriately, or are you hearing that it's rushed?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think everybody's doing everything they can. Yes, it's rushed because you have to get it done quickly. So it's a unique situation, unlike, other lawsuits would be in which you would have the time, months and months to prepare. But in this case, they have a lot of people on the ground. They have a lot of very, very bright attorneys that are working with the campaign, with the RNC, making sure that these lawsuits move forward appropriately and everything is being done so that this evidence that has been presented and that has been brought forward can be presented to the American people. Because as you and I know, the mainstream media is not covering it appropriately, which is super discouraging. So making sure that we can use the president's ability to reach people directly, which has served him so well over the past 4 years, I think is going to be very important in this incident specifically.
You've known the president for a long time, even before he was President, Madison. You think these early reports of maybe Trump not only running in 2024, but in the meantime also starting some kind of a media outfit? I mean, what do you think about that, the possibilities here?
Well, I think it could be amazing to see the president start a media outlet at any time, because you see the reality of when it comes to the mainstream media. Part of why we as the First have so many great viewers is because they felt abandoned by outlets like Fox News and others that they had watched for many years. They didn't feel that they were receiving the same type of content that they knew and loved. And they certainly don't trust CNN or MSNBC and outlets that, even 20 years ago, people turned to for breaking news, turned to for information. And now it's become so biased. You see not over 90% in that first year of the president's administration, negative media coverage. And I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, there should never be that type of biased coverage against any president. And so people feel abandoned by the media, just like they have felt abandoned by politicians. So it's an interesting time. And I definitely think an opportunity for new media outlets to pop up and really be quite successful.
How are you feeling about our chances in each individual race here in these Georgia Senate runoffs? You mentioned before the radical left agenda. A lot easier to stop it, as you know, Madison, if we got a Republican majority in at least the Senate. You think this is shaping up and there's enough attention from the powers that be on the right to make sure these races go our way?
I think it's going to be absolutely critical that we maintain control of the Senate as Republicans when you look at what's at stake right now and what I view as a good versus evil scenario. When you compare what the Democrats want to do in this nation compared to conservatives that want to hold the line with, traditional values. So I think that it's going to be critical to watch these races. I do think things are shaping up better than some expected. We have to, really watch over the next week and see what happens. But, it is difficult with many resources and focus going on to this presidential count right now. We want to make sure that we continue to focus on that Senate as well.
Madison, always good to see you. I'll keep the faith if you will, okay?
Good to see you too, Buck.
Coming up, the left-wing insanity on Twitter and beyond never stops. Almost time for, everyone's favorite part of the day, the buckshot. Stay right there. These days, being prepared for the unknown is more important than ever. I'm sure you've noticed the world we live in is anything but predictable. We can all benefit from something reliable right about now. What could be more reliable than real gold and silver? I'm talking about real gold and silver you can actually hold right in your hands. Don't wait. Protect your assets and your wealth. Diversify with gold and silver. Call the Oxford Gold Group right now. Learn how easy it is to get real gold and silver sent securely directly to your home, or how you can have real gold and silver placed in your IRA or 401k. Just call the Oxford Gold Group at 833-600-GOLD. Ask for your free guide on owning gold and silver. Again, call the Oxford Gold Group right now at 833-600-GOLD. The Oxford Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Call them right now, 833-600-GOLD. One more time, that's 833-600-GOLD. This is where I get my gold and silver. You should too. Check them out today. Should we shun our children to avoid COVID-19? I don't have kids, but, I think this is something we should talk about. At least one intrepid former Obama administration official and man of the left thinks so. The View's Joy Behar goes full Joy Behar. Line up those clay pigeons. Time for the buckshot. What kind of extremes should we go to? If you were going to be the most hardcore, I believe in science person out there, if you were going to do exactly what these Democrats wanted you to do, what would you do, given the spikes in COVID cases and hospitalizations now across the country? Well, at least one guy, he used to be the chief under the Obama administration of the Medicare and Medicaid programs. You got a guy here, Andy Slavitt. He tweeted out, "Then there's the matter," this is amazing, "of college kids. We have one, I love him, so I mean this with no disrespect. Stay away from them, keep them away from the people you love, shun them if they come home for Thanksgiving, have them sleep in the garage, have them wear their masks." That's right. This is the future that we have brought into being, friends. Public health bureaucrats telling you to make little Timmy, when he comes home from his first year at Ohio State or Bowdoin or wherever, go sleep in the doghouse, maybe the garage, depends on which one has more room. That's what we're being told now. He later on said, this was a joke. It wasn't a joke. It was part of a longer thread. He's trying to make a point here. Don't hug your relatives. Don't touch them. Don't go near them. Let's all live in fear of COVID always and forever. That's what we have to do. Look, if you've got somebody who's of the age range and also has comorbidities, taking extra precautions. No one is suggesting that you don't do things to try to stay healthy during this pandemic. What we're suggesting, at least from what I see and on my side of it, is that the government has given out a lot of really bad advice and done a lot of dumb things and is engaging in a lot of overreach that's not really helping, and it's also hurting in a lot of ways that no one talks about with these lockdowns. That's the argument here. It's not, oh, if you feel sick, you got COVID, go to a concert, cough on people. That's insane, right? We all know that. But if you want to listen to the former Obama administration officials, they're going to tell you stuff like, don't hug your kids. College kids, they've got germs. College kids got cooties. Does anyone use that term anymore? That's a word we used to word. You know, people have cooties. All right, Joy Behar. I think The View is great. I think it exists really as a content mill for conservative talk and analysis, because if you want to know what do ignorant, really unimpressive, sanctimonious leftists think about any political issue, you might as well tune into The View. Here's Joy Behar.
It occurs to me that Trump is so evil at this point. I really think he's evil. I think he absolutely relishes the idea that things are getting worse and it's going to be in Biden's lap. I really think he likes that. That's how sick he is.
That's right. Can't you feel all the healing? Can't you feel all that unity just washing over you from these libs who have been telling you that all we have to do is defeat Trump and everything will be better. All we have to do is have Joe Biden. And now they're like, Trump still wants people to die. He just wants everyone to die. He really doesn't. It's a really awful thing to say. It's a stunningly stupid and baseless thing, but it appeals to the Democrat left-wing audience now. They want to think that Donald Trump could care less about anyone being affected by COVID. Remember, Trump had COVID. I think he has personal experience of it. And remember what they were saying when that happened and what they were rooting for? I won't even say it on TV, but they were not being very patriotic on the left when the President of the United States had to go to the hospital for COVID. I haven't forgotten that. Among the many things I have not forgotten, that is one of them. But you know what we really need right now? Well, we're being told don't hug people because they could have COVID. I mean, your own family members. I'm not sure. I wouldn't hug strangers, right? See, I'm a reasonable guy. I'm a reasonable man. Hugging strangers is for other happier times. But with all this, we need extra panic from the MD public health intellectual class that goes on TV. I bring you Dr. Gupta of CNN.
Doctors Without Borders have come to the United States to do their work. They go to the hottest spots in the world. They look at the earth and say, where are we needed? Well, they're needed here in the United States right now. So I know it's tough to hear. I've already gotten a lot of emails and social about the fact that I call this a humanitarian disaster, but I stand by it. It is.
A humanitarian disaster. Like we're all being hit by a hurricane at once and doing nothing about it. We should just give more power to the government because they're going to solve all of this. Humanitarian disaster. Look, it is a terrible situation, but it's a terrible situation for most of the world. You don't hear much about this, but Argentina, as of a couple of weeks ago, had the highest COVID death rate of any country on the planet. And there are a lot of places that have had a particularly tough job with it. I can say that much about it. But no, let's just get everybody to be in a panic. And in case you have any feelings of resistance still to this, and in case you're at a place where you want to have some autonomy in the decision making around your life, can you open your business? Can you see your family? Are you tired of wearing that mask? Have you ever been in that situation? Because I have, where you're in a place where you know if you take your mask off, people are going to get very mad at you. They're going to call the manager on you right away, and you have to sneeze, and you sneeze in your mask, and then you sit there with that disgusting wet rag on your face. But that's going to save lives, they tell you. I mean, the sneeze is blown out all over the place in the air. The mask is actually not so lacking in porousness that it can't. But anyway, the virus won't still at some level get out there. But you sit there with the mask on your face. If you have any problem with that, if you don't like the rashes you get on your face, perhaps the acne, the itching, the chafing, all this stuff when you're on the treadmill or just walking around with a mask on, the governor of New Jersey wants you to know, shut up or you'll die. Play it.
What is your message to the people who apparently are tired of wearing the mask over their nose as well as their mouth? They think it's uncomfortable and annoying, and it's just too much for them to handle, so they're just not doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what's really uncomfortable and annoying? When you die. That's my answer.
Quite an answer. Really, really handling this with all the dexterity, all the intellectual heft that we'd expect from the moron who happens to be the governor of New Jersey. Almost as dumb as the thug in charge of New York, but we'll have to talk about worst Democrat governor contest another day. I think we should have it here on the show. That's right, friends. Any challenges to the orthodoxy that you present, doesn't matter who the president is, the left, they don't like you sharing ideas. They want you to obey, bend that knee. We refuse to do that here. But for today, that's it for Hold the Line with Buck Sexton. Up next, the No Spin News with Mr. Bill O'Reilly. Have a great weekend, everybody. Shields high.